I never imagined I'd end up here, facing a truth that consumes you long before you can even voice it. My name is Claire, and for most of my marriage, I thought I understood love. Not the dramatic, cinematic kind, but the quiet, enduring kind. Small acts of kindness, shared routines, silent forgiveness, a cup of coffee waiting in the morning. But lately, the silence between Ethan and me had begun to feel heavy, as if it were hiding something neither of us dared to confront. It started about a year ago, after Ethan lost his job. Slowly, he unraveled. The man who once laughed easily began watching me with suspicion, noticing every time I picked up my phone, every pause in conversation. He seemed desperate to control something, anything, as though the rest of his life was slipping through his fingers. Money grew tight, and emotions even tighter. I threw myself into long hours at the clinic, trying to keep us afloat. Each day bled into exhaustion and frustration, that dangerous place where love begins to feel more like duty than desire. That's when Ryan appeared, a colleague at the clinic. Confident, charming, the sort of person who made you feel heard. At first, it was innocent. Lunches, light jokes between patients, the camaraderie that forms among overworked co-workers. But one night, after a grueling shift, he offered me a ride home. That night became a memory I wish I could erase. He kissed me and I froze, not in shock, but because I felt something I hadn't felt in months, desire. I didn't stop him. I should have. But loneliness distorts judgment until you mistake it for need. The guilt hit the next morning, sharp and suffocating. I told myself it was a one-time mistake, something I could bury and work in silence. But Ryan refused to stay buried. He called, texted, found excuses to be near me when Ethan wasn't around, whispering, "You deserve to feel alive again." He slowly rewrote the rules of what I thought I knew about connection. For a while, I let myself believe him. Then everything changed. The softness in his words hardened. Affection turned to threats. "You owe me, Claire. Don't forget, I covered for you that night." And suddenly I saw him clearly. He wasn't offering freedom. He was holding me captive in a different prison. I wanted to end it, but he threatened to tell Ethan. So I stayed, not because I wanted to, but out of fear. Each encounter left me emptier, more distant from the woman I once was. Then came the night Ethan returned home early. I was at the kitchen table, shaking, trying to text Ryan to stop. Ethan walked in, saw the fear in my eyes, and didn't yell, didn't accuse. He just sat across from me and asked quietly, "Claire, is there something I should know?" That question broke me. Everything I had hidden poured out. Every mistake, every moment of weakness, every spiral of fear and guilt that had turned me into a stranger in my own skin. Through tears, I admitted the hardest truth. I hadn't stayed with Ryan because I wanted to, but because I believed I had no choice. Ethan didn't move. He didn't raise his voice. He simply searched my face for the woman he had loved in someone he barely recognized. After a long, unbearable silence, he said softly, "You didn't have to, Claire. You made a choice." It wasn't anger that struck me. It was a truth, calm, steady, painful truth. Beneath all fear and guilt, there had still been a choice, and that made the reality impossible to bear. He stood, walked to a window, his voice quiet but cutting. "If it had been a mistake, I could have forgiven you," he said. "But this wasn't a mistake. It was a silence you chose and paid for." Then he left. No slammed doors, no shouting, just a fading echo of his footsteps down the hall, leaving a stillness that settled over everything and refused to lift. The weeks that followed fell hollow. Ryan tried calling. I ignored every attempt. I left the clinic, moved in with my sister, and existed in quiet, smaller spaces. I wrote letters to Ethan, not asking for forgiveness, but explaining that fear doesn't erase betrayal. It merely disguises it. He never replied. Months later, I ran into him unexpectedly at a grocery store. He looked older, steadier, like someone who had finally put down a heavy burden. When our eyes met, I froze. Every instinct urged me to turn away. Yet he smiled, a faint, tender smile tinged with sorrow. "I read your letters," he said after a pause. My throat tightened. "I understand now. You were afraid, but fear doesn't erase love. It only changes its shape." My eyes burned. I whispered, Do you hate me? He shook his head. No, but I can't love you the way I did before. Some things can be rebuilt. You just learn to live around cracks. That was the last time I saw him. Yet at night, his voice still echoes in my mind. Calm, unwavering, devastating in its simplicity. You didn't have to. You chose to. I've learned that choices made from fear often masquerade as survival, yet slowly destroy you from within. I don't know if Ethan has found peace, but I hope he has. He deserves the calm I never gave him. As for me, I'm learning to forgive the version of myself who thought silence was safer than honesty. If I could go back, I wouldn't plead for his forgiveness. I'd plead for courage. Courage to speak, to walk away before causing harm, to reach out before pushing everything I loved away. Life doesn't grant do-overs. It leaves echoes, and in mine his voice remains. Gentle, resolute, unforgettable. You didn't have to. You chose to.